This presentation is about adapting, thriving, and repeating. It's about making changes on the fly and then thriving and always being able to make those changes again. Our agenda today is super stupid simple. It's going to be adapt, thrive, do it again. As much as we all might like to find comfort in life and so forth, it doesn't stop. And if you stop, that's when it gets to be bad. So we want to make sure that we're constantly adapting, thriving, and doing it again. So the first thing I want to do is I want to talk about one of my favorite all-time quotes. It's not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent that survives. It's the one that is most adaptable to change. Now, I want you to think about that for a minute. When Darwin said that many centuries ago, he was thinking about genetics and changes when it comes to, thousands and millions of years of genetic changes, right? So we're talking about evolution when it comes to animals. Well, evolving yourself and evolving your business is just as important. If you go back 20, 30, 40 years ago in our industry, it wasn't as important back then as it is today. You constantly had to make changes, but you know what? Those changes were a little bit slower. You didn't have to worry about things that were flying at you at the speed of light like they are today. And that's where I want you to wrap your mind around. I know we all like to do things new, to make changes, but today, in order to be able to survive and be successful, you literally have to wake up every morning with the thought in your head that I'm going to have to totally change something that I'm very used to doing so that I can be successful in my business. Whether it's artificial intelligence or it's new competitors on the front, the way people communicate, or heck, the way your customers want to buy, that literally changes at light speed. And I want you to think about it. How many of you thought you would be having web meetings with 2020 today in a virtual conference, okay, as a virtual conference because of COVID? That wasn't something that was on our agenda before, but it is today. Now, I want to be really clear when we go through about being adaptable. COVID is not your problem. COVID is a problem, okay? Just like political instability is a problem, or a few years ago, the Great Recession. Those are problems. Those are things that we can overcome. Those are big things that we deal with, but that's not really where I want you to focus. You're meeting today with me virtually because guess what? Whether there was COVID or not, you are probably going to be meeting with people virtually anyway. All these things have done in today's society and today's environment have sped up the changes that we all deal with. So I want you to focus on what you're dealing with and what the real problems are that face you. Now, let's talk a little bit about, let me go to the next slide here. What are the secret ingredients when it comes to being adaptable? There's a lot of things that you have to mix together to get it just right. And I want you to also keep in mind, I said, do it again, do it again, do it again. It's all about repeating. This isn't a one-time thing. This is something every one of us have to do every day. We have to reinvent ourselves. The people that work with me have heard me say many times, you got to try out every day. You literally have to try out in life every day. Doesn't matter what you did in the past. You got to do it again today, and you got to do it better because everybody's getting better around you. All right. So that's actually the first ingredient. It's you. There isn't anything I can tell you today. I'm going to give you lots of great tips that I do, that we do in our business, and you're going to see how highly adaptable we are. But it all starts with you. If you are not adaptable, if you don't absolutely love, if you don't absolutely to your genetic core desire change, none of this is going to work. So you really need to focus on yourself first. So in the chat room, I want to ask a real quick question. Do me a favor. Be honest with me. Are you adaptable? Go ahead in the chat room. Tell me yes, no, maybe, you're scared, whatever it is. Tell me, are you adaptable? My guess is that you're sitting here on this presentation because you're adaptable. You're looking for better ways to do business, better ways to improve your life in general, better ways to improve the experience to your customer. So awesome. So let's talk about this a little bit more. Let's pop down and let's talk about, here is how you know. So I want you to think about yourself, all right? I want you to picture yourself like this lady in on my slide right now. I want you to think, close your eyes and go, am I innovative? Am I driven? Am I energetic? Am I fun? Am I disruptive? Now, what that means is how you approach your day. Are you always looking for new ways to do things? Are you really driven to be successful? Do you have the energy to keep up with that? I'm sure a lot of people in here just would tell me, I'm just sheer worn out with everything that's going on. But you know what? We can't be worn out. We have to be energetic. Are you fun? You have to really want this. You have to make it a fun part of your life in order to be successful. And disruptive. I want to talk about being disruptive, not destructive, but rather disruptive. I want to know, whether you really go out and change things because you know that you constantly have to change things. And if we take a look, and we're going to talk a little bit about disruption later, but think about yourself again. Are you easily navigating change? Do you readily offer new ideas? Are you working hard? Do you constantly want that process and product to be better? This is you. It starts with you. If you are not these things, this is where you need to focus yourself. Because again, it doesn't matter what else we talk about. It all starts and ends, quite frankly, with you. Nobody else can do it for you. It's you. Now, I want to give you one of my favorite quotes. It's funny, the folks that work with me have heard me say this before, and I talk about this all the time. You're going to see my team in a minute, and I'm going to talk about how I hire people. I look and say, that adaptable people are unencumbered by legacy. They literally look at things as they should be instead of as they have been. That's the very first thing that I would tell you in your mind that you really need to be focused on. You need to be focused on how it should be, not how it was, not how you'd like it to be, but actually how it should be to give the best results to your clients, to your company, to your family, to yourself. So I'm going to talk about employees in just a second, or my team members, but I want you to know one of the most important things that I look at in somebody is, do they want change? Do they not worry about what has happened, but are they rather focused on where they are going? Now, next, let's talk a little bit about the team. Now, I've talked about who you should be. Let me tell you what I look for in team members. When I'm interviewing people, I want to know, are they adaptable, innovative, driven, energetic, disruptive? The same keys I said you need to be focused on within yourself, right? It's about team working together. And I have to tell you, we have my previous partner, David, would talk about negative force multipliers. In your company, you have to have positive force multipliers, people that are always moving the team forward. Because if you have any type of negative influence in there, you are going to mess up the teamwork itself and where you're going. So we need to be focused on positive force multipliers. Now, let me give you a little example of the team that I have picked to work around me. Now, this is the folks that work within our business, our sister business, and so forth, the people that we've worked to hire within the business. And I'll talk a little bit about what we focus on, but I want to point something out as we're talking. First of all, I am now, it's hard for me to believe, but I'm 53 years old. I am the oldest guy in my company. I am much older than most of the people you see on the screen, but I hired these people for a reason. I hired them because I knew that they were going to work well in today's environment. And I just didn't go out and hire anybody. I found people like in our sister company. This young lady right here is a recent NKBA Design Award winner from the student category. This young guy here is in his early 20s. He is actually managing a six-figure solutions integration within our business. The guy partnering with him is another guy in his early 20s down here. This young lady in her mid-20s, she actually runs my accounting department. This gentleman up here on the right, he came from Lego and came to work for a company like us. And as you go through and you look at these images and these pictures, you can clearly see what I'm looking for when it comes to people. You notice how happy they are. They actually like working with each other. Even when there's problems, they like working with each other. They drive each other. I can tell you this guy right here, He worked 27 hours last week. He literally came to work and stayed all day long. And that's not unusual. I have people that will oftentimes go home and come back and they're full of energy. And you're going to ask me, you really hire millennials and this happens? It's yes. It's because they buy in to what we're doing. And it's really, really, truly about how you focus on hiring people. Now, let me talk a little bit about what my focus is on hiring. First of all, when I interview people, what am I looking for? This is what's important to you because it's not just you, it's who you surround yourself with. First thing I look for when I'm interviewing somebody is undiscovered talent. There's a lot of people out there that are phenomenal. They're really smart. They're great at what they do. They've just never been given the opportunity to be successful at it. Or they've been brought in to be somebody's apprentice, or they're running it or getting somebody else coffee, or they're doing the menial jobs. When I hire people, I hire them because I'm going to give them real responsibility. They're really important to my business. And that comes to empowering. We'll talk about that later on. So the first thing I look for is people that have undiscovered talent. Not everybody I interview has undiscovered talent. You have to really look for it. Next thing is positive attitude, fun, being positive. I can tell you, there's nothing better. If you create an environment where people want to be there, where they want the person next to them to be even more successful than they are, that's when you're winning, okay? Respect for team members. You don't always have to like everybody, but you need to be respectful in how you work. I look for that. Problem solvers. Let me give you an example. One of the young guys there is my director of sales, Mark. Mark, when he interviews, has a great question. He asks people some funny questions, but one of them he asked the other day, which I thought was rather brilliant, is how many tennis balls fit in a limousine? Most of the time you're asking people when you interview them, do you have a car? Can you get to work? What's your background? Tell me what you did in the past. Mark's question was, how many tennis balls fit in a limousine? Now, what are we looking for when it comes to things like that? Well, this is what we're looking for. We're not looking for the person who sits in front of us and goes, that's a crazy question. I don't know, 50,000 or 5,000. What we're looking for is that person that goes, well, I guess you need to tell me what limousine that is. What kind of car is it? And then if I know what kind of car it is, I'm going to go and I'm going to Google the dimensions of that car. Because on Google, I'll be able to find the interior space. I can actually figure the square footage of the space by simply looking it up. I can go and Google the size of a tennis ball, and then I can simply decide to divide the square footage of the interior of that car by the number of tennis balls. Pretty simple, right? I can do that. That's logic. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for somebody that knows how to problem solve. That sets the lights off and we're like, okay, I can teach you anything else. I can teach you kitchens. I can teach you baths. I can teach you about wood boxes. I can teach you about stone countertops. All that stuff is easy. If I can get somebody that thinks logically and problem solves, wow, I'm way ahead of the game. Diversity in life experience and opinions. If you go back and look at this page, I want you to look at this page again. So I'm going to go back and look at my team. You know what my team doesn't look like? They don't look like me. It's not a bunch of guys like me that have the same experiences, all graduated high school in 1985. We all like hair bands. You know, we all have the same common things and needs in common. These are diverse people. They bring things to the table that I could never imagine. And that makes my company more adaptable because there's more opinions. The one thing that you want to avoid in life, actually, there's a lot of things you want to avoid in life, but the one thing in this case is you want to avoid a situation where you put yourself in an echo chamber and you surround yourself with people just like you, people that think like you, people that have the same taste, the same likes, because all you do is you keep playing off of each other on the same common themes. You're not actually getting any new experiences. It's like you're inbreeding ideas. You're no longer accepting new genetic codes. You're no longer accepting new concepts into your business. You need that to be successful. So if you want to be adaptable and thrive, start there. One of my favorite things is when I interview somebody is I actually will ask them questions that I want them to tell me that I'm wrong on. Because for me, one of the key pieces is knowing that people have the comfort to tell me I'm wrong. I don't have all the right answers. If you and your business think you have all the right answers, you're in trouble. Anybody who thinks they have all the answers is in trouble. You need to be able to go into a room with your own opinions, be able to sit in the room and have people be able to freely share whether you're right or you're wrong, because it doesn't matter if you're right while you're sitting in that room. What matters is if you're right when you leave the room. So I seek people who are very willing to tell me I'm wrong. I love curiosity. I love one of the favorite things in our company is just people sitting around in our conference room talking about ideas and looking things up. We literally will talk about things, and I can look around the room and see everybody on their phones, and they're all Googling or they're looking it up, trying to find the facts, trying to find information, trying to learn more about that. Curiosity can't be beat. It's one of my favorite human attributes in the world. The other thing, and this is a little bit scary to a lot of people, I hire people that I think are going to outgrow me. I truly hope in a year or 2 or 3 years that they're so good at what they do that they leave. I would love to be able to pay anybody as much money as possible to keep them, but that's not realistic. I want people that are of such quality, it'll be everything that I can do to hold on to them long term. I really believe that, because if I'm finding people that are not the type of person that's going to stay with me, the person that's just going to stick around forever, well, guess what? They're going to prevent me from evolving, from adapting my business. They're going to get stuck in one space and they're going to stick me there too. So I'm always looking for people that are going to outperform me. I have a saying that some of you know me from being NKBA president in the past. At my office now, or the days when I was working with 2020, I always sought to surround myself with people that were smarter at their jobs than I am. I don't want to know more about marketing than my marketing person. I don't want to know more about sales than my salesperson. I don't want to know more about finances than my finance person. That's why I have them, because I want them to make me better. So don't focus on you being the center of attention. Rather, focus on your people and growing them, because they are what's going to allow you to be adaptable. Now, one of the things when people see my team, if you saw us at KBiz or places like that, we get a lot of comments about the team because it does look very different than a lot of companies. One of them is how do you find people like that? I have to tell you that we interview constantly. Literally today, Mark over in the sales department interviewed 12 people. Yesterday interviewed 12 people. He's interviewing people today. We interview a couple times a week, and we oftentimes don't even have roles for those people, but we continue to interview so that we can build up a wonderful portfolio of people that we want to have in our business, because it's all about making us better in the end. And the moment that I have a chance for one of those people, we'll bring them in. But we like to build that portfolio of great people to add to the team. So that's really important. And I have to tell you, once you find one person who really meets all of these criteria, they oftentimes will find out that they have friends just like them. So, I'll get referrals and other people to come in, especially when it comes to younger people. When younger people find out that we're willing to accept them and not hire people as interns or not hire people for menial roles to begin with to build their career, that we'll literally give people right off the bat the opportunity to truly make decisions. We have people coming to us all the time because they love that. I can tell you the one gentleman that I pointed to earlier. Let me go back here again. This guy here who's out fishing. He worked for Lego. He came to work for my company because at Lego, he was just another guy working in inventory. When he came to work for me, he actually had the ability as a young guy to make a difference, actually make decisions on his own. We're going to talk about empowering. It's a huge, huge key in order to be adaptable. So again, step 1 to being adaptable is you. Step 2, it's who you surround yourself with. Now, I'm going to jump over to the chat room, but I'm actually getting a little message that the chat room's not working. Is that correct? The chat room is still off? Okay. I understand we're having a little technical difficulty. So here's what I want you to do, because we are going to adapt. Oh, back on again. Awesome. So in the chat room, do me a favor. I want you to be honest with me. This is serious. This is some soul searching. Are you okay hiring people that are smarter than you are? A lot of people aren't. I love people that are smarter than I am. So I want you to tell me, are you comfortable hiring people that are smarter than you are? And knowing that they're going to leave you one day. Heck, I'm sure some of you are going to tell me that that worries you because you're training your future competition. Yep, absolutely you are. But I would rather hire somebody that's really good and have a potential friend or competitor in the future than I would have hiring people that aren't up to the job, that aren't going to keep my business relevant. Think about how hard we all have to fight just to stay relevant. Please, please, please arm yourself with the right people to do that. If you're looking around a room and everybody looks like you, or you're looking around a room and they're the same people you've worked with for 30 years, you need new blood. Go out there and seek it using the criteria that I mentioned. Now, let's go on to the next one. Let's talk about culture. As I've been talking about my people, you've been hearing a lot of information about how we think and what our culture is. This is something I really, really believe in. And this just isn't where I am today. I've been very fortunate in my career to always work with awesome, open-minded people that are always seeking to be better. I truly, totally understand how lucky I am. When I was working every day at 2020, it was just the most awesome experience ever because of the way the company is, the openness, how people want each other to do better and better each day. Where I am now, same thing. When I was with NKBA, same thing. Now, part of that is you, or me in this case, in that I think that way. Because if you think that way, people will reflect you. So I want you to think about your business for a second, and I want to use the word open, okay? Let's think about the word open. Let's start with open minds, okay? Open minds. There's a great quote by the philosopher Frank Zappa. If you're a little bit older than me, you know who Frank Zappa is. If you're my age, you know Frank's children, Dweezil, Moon Unit, and Ahmed, I think. If you're younger than me, you probably have no idea who I'm talking about. But Frank Zappa was actually a musician in the late 60s, early 70s. And he had a great quote that I liked. It was, your mind is like a parachute. If it's not open, it doesn't work. I always thought that that was a cool quote. So I want you to think about having an open mind. And what having an open mind means is being open to other points of view. If you think about this, I'm not going to talk politics, but if you think about this politically, if you have one political persuasion and you spend all day long listening to somebody with the same exact political persuasion, you're not actually learning anything. You're just confirming what you already believe. You don't actually see what's going on out in the world. So I can tell you that when it comes to things like politics and other things like that, I actually focus on people that don't agree with me. So if I'm watching news or I'm reading online or whatever it's going to be, I actually don't go to the people that I would tend to agree with. I go and listen to people that maybe I don't understand their perspective, or I'm trying to figure out why they believe something and I don't, because that gives you an open mind. It allows you to take a 360 view on everything you're doing. Your business needs to be like that too. You can't think that you have the only way of doing things. Otherwise, you will become extinct. Like dinosaurs, extinct. In order to adapt, you have to be open to new concepts. Your whole team has to be like that. So you have to build a culture where people are willing to listen to all sides, not just their own. That's number one. Number two, open eyes and open ears. Pay attention. Watch what other people are doing. And it doesn't just mean in the kitchen and bath business. One of my favorite pastimes, or one of my favorite things to do personally, is pay attention to other companies that are being disruptive. I like watching companies like SpaceX, right? If you think about it, these massive corporations, government contractors, military contractors, and so forth, for the last however many years, 40 years, 50 years, have controlled space exploration. Some dude comes along gets in front of a YouTube camera, starts talking, has some ideas, gets people to give him some money, and all of a sudden it's his crew that's launching into space and not the established defense contractor. Guess how surprised they were that some dude just came along and did that? Or Uber, what they did to taxis, or Amazon, what they've done to other businesses, or think about Robinhood. For the younger set here, when I invest, I was used to going to people like Legg Mason, Morgan Stanley, people like that. I dare you to go out and find a person in their early or mid-20s and ask them if they have Robinhood on their phone. They're all sitting there investing, and they're actually using it with some app that I had never heard of 6 months ago. But I bet you know who's heard of it? I bet you Morgan Stanley's heard of it. And I bet you Charles Schwab has heard of it. And I bet you Legg Mason has heard of it, because they thought they owned the market. But this company has come along, and all of a sudden young people are investing with them instead. So you and your business need to do the same thing. You need to walk around, look at other types of businesses that are being disruptive, and say, this is what I like about that business, even if it's not in your market segment. Because somebody is going to disrupt you, somebody is going to disrupt me. We need to be looking at these other types of companies and learning from them so that we are the people disrupting, not the people being disrupted. Keep your eyes and ears open. Doors. A lot of companies today, especially with COVID, it's hard to get people or allow people to come into your business. But one of the most important things you can do in your business is keep your gosh darn door open. Don't keep people out. Don't keep salespeople out. You might go, you know what? I have the best cabinet liner in the world. If another cabinet rep walks in, I'm not going to talk to them. I don't have time. Or the quartz rep walks in, or the sink or the plumbing rep walks in. You don't have time for those people, right? No. They're some of the most important people you're ever going to meet, because they have visited all of your competitors, and they are meeting in big groups like we are right now. And they are hearing other ideas that are going to make you better if you give them a chance to tell you. Now, sure, there's lots of things they'll tell you. Like if a salesperson walks into my office and wants to tell me about golf or fishing or something like that, total waste of my time. I'm going to move them out quick. I want to find out what my competitor did, or what this dealer in Michigan is doing that's so unique, because I want to learn those things and figure out how I can incorporate them in my business. That only happens if you let people in. If you keep people out, you keep all of those ideas out too. You should be collecting ideas and then picking and choosing the winners, not preventing ideas from ever reaching your doorstep. Communication. We have open communication. I can tell you our communication is probably a little bit too open in my company. And, I'll talk about structure in a minute, but we keep everybody fairly apprised of almost everything. Now, do I share detailed financial information with every person in the company? Like the building I'm in right now probably has 15 people in it, but the building where I tend to spend most of my time has 70, 75 people in it. Do I go around to each one of those people and give them my private financial information? I do not. But all of them know what the plan is. All of them know what our new project is. All of them know what our goals are for the day and for the week and so forth. Because I find that if people aren't communicating, they're not having buy-in to what you're doing. It's really important to be able to communicate openly with everything that you can, because that keeps everybody on the same page, everybody pushing and moving in the same direction. So again, about your culture, open. Now, this one's going to sound a little strange to a lot of people, but we have what we call basically an open floor plan or an open structure in our business. This is going to sound strange. I am CEO of a company. I have a sister company that I work with extensively. We have well over 100 employees between the two. We generate a lot of revenue, and I am the CEO. And guess what I don't have? I don't have an office. Matter of fact, I don't just not have an office. I don't even have any personal things in the building. When I leave at night, there's not even a pen left that's mine. I literally, every morning at 5:30 or 6 o'clock, walk in and sit down at a conference room table. And our offices all surround that conference room. Matter of fact, a lot of the offices have windows right into the conference room. Myself, the COO, we both sit in there, and all day long, everybody who works for us simply comes in and out of that conference room. It's a constant flow. It's a constant flow of people, but you know what it really is? It's a constant flow of information. It's a constant flow of ideas. Everybody feels comfortable coming in and sitting in. Now, don't get me wrong. There's times, there's HR, there's other things that we have to do where I have to be separated. But the majority of the time, everybody's coming through. It's kind of crazy. If you ever sat in the room, there's times where we have 2 or 3 meetings going on at the same time in that room, but everybody's involved. I've always had a saying, and my people know it. I think I wrote it in an article one time. If you want to know how relevant you are to your company, count how many walls between you and your CEO. I can tell you this, in our company, there's almost no walls. Matter of fact, we are expanding fast, so we're putting offices in the front of the building, and all of that's going to be open concept. Giant conference rooms, giant work areas. I do not want cubicles. I don't want places where people can hide or ideas can hide. Matter of fact, if I could do it, any walls that we had would be glass and we could all write on them. I'll talk about game planning or strategy later on, but that's the type of environment. Openness. You want to be adaptable? You have to have your fingertips on new information all the time. Don't keep people from giving you information. Welcome information. I know that's a little bit of heresy when it comes to the kitchen to bath world. When I first started, it was all about protect your work. Don't give this out. Don't give that out. Somebody else is going to take it. Hey, everything I do is open. You can have anything of mine. I'm always happy to send it out to you. Any of my information. Matter of fact, the presentation you're watching right now, geez, just let me know in the chat room and I'll send it to you. You can have anything, no charge. So that's the type of culture you need to have. Again, to be able to adapt your business. Now, let's move on to the next one. Let's talk a little bit about some habits, expecting the unexpected. I mentioned that we like to have some fun. We've had a lot of things happen in just the last couple of years, but I can tell you that it's how you react to them and the attitude that you have. One of the things I'm most proud of my team is we have stuff bad happen all the time. I had something that wasn't so pleasant yesterday happen. But you know what? When we all get together in a conference room and we talk about it, nobody sits around and talks about what happened, why it happened, who's at fault. Everybody's like, okay, here's what our problem is. What do we do next? Everybody's always looking for the solution. Where do we go? I literally approach my day like this. I want you to think about this. I plan calamity into my day. And what I mean by that is when I wake up in the morning, I never expect everything to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect. I'm expecting the unexpected. I'm expecting something bad to happen along the way, or we're going to be presented with some huge problem in the middle of the day. I'm expecting that. So guess what? When that huge problem comes along and punches me in the face, I was waiting for it. I think Mike Tyson has a good quote that everybody has a game plan in a ring until you get punched. Well, you know what? Every day we go out there, we expect something like that to happen. So if you're expecting it, it's not a surprise. Now, we don't always know what it's going to be, but we know there's going to be something. So we're ready for it. We actually joke around the office. You know, we've had all sorts of things between global trade wars to political instability to pandemics and so forth. You know, we always joke that we're going to put something on a wall and it'll give what's the next calamity, zombie apocalypse, alien invasion, sea monsters, asteroids, you know, and matter of fact, the other day, if anybody was reading the news, there's a chance, as if your life wasn't crazy enough, there's actually a chance that an asteroid hits the Earth the day before Election Day in the US. Now, it's only a 0.5% chance, but that's pretty high when it comes to cosmic events. So we were all sending each other that document. It was pretty funny. We were sending it back and forth because everybody's like, oh, there's the next huge thing that we have to face. Now, being prepared for the unexpected is half the battle. Because if you know bad's going to happen and you're always thinking, okay, that could happen, well, then you're ready to immediately address it and affect it. Too oftentimes you'll see companies where something negative happens and they literally shut down. They mentally shut down. The business stops. It's going to take them days to figure it out. They don't know. They don't sleep. You spend a lot of time telling each other, consoling each other, telling each other what a brave new world it is and all these things, instead of actually solving problems. We spend all of our time trying to console each other and not actually solving the problem. we're always ready for the problem, a problem, I should say. That way we're waiting to what's the next step in how we solve it. So that's important. So I want to show you a couple of problems here. I'm going to do it in the chat room again. I want you to think about something. We have some fun. Our calamity pool. Right now, I want you to think about it. What's the next big thing that's going to happen to all of us in North America right now? Sea monster, zombie apocalypse? Is Amazon going to own kitchen showrooms? Asteroid impacts? Or big cabinet companies going to sell direct and bypass you? Alien invasions or a new one? Tell me what your favorite one is, or if there's something we haven't thought of right now. Because you know what? Some of those are real. And some of those you need to plan for. And some of those you're going to do really well with because you're adaptable. It doesn't matter what happens in the world as long as you're adaptable. People have gone through major wars. We've gone through recessions and depressions. We had 9/11 in the US. We've had all of these things happen. And guess what? At the end of the day, no matter what the calamity is, there's a group of people who come out of it better than they did before. You need to decide to be one of those people. And you only do that if you're able to adapt. There isn't anything that can't be overcome. You just need to be able to adapt. Now, here's how you adapt in your business. I'm going to go on to the next phase. This is my item 5. Focus on where you must be tomorrow. All right, so avoid complacency. A lot of people spend all day long trying to look at the company down the street, and their goal is to be what that company down the street is. Matter of fact, I'll give you an example. I'm trying not to call 2020 out so much, but they're so good at this. You all are here because 2020 is a market leader, right? Well, when I was working with 2020, I was focused on the fact that everybody else who was trying to create design solutions, selling solutions, and so forth, they were always trying to create what 2020 has today. Well, you know what? While all those people are trying to create what 2020 has today, 2020 is focused on what you need tomorrow. And that's where you need to be thinking as a business. Don't look down the street. Don't look at your competitors. Don't look at fellow people in the business and say, that's who I want to be. No, if you spend the next 2 years trying to be them, by the time you're them, they're going to be somebody better. So you always need to look ahead to where you are. So what we do, and even on a smaller scale, if you think about this, you think about how people reacted to this year, the pandemic. When we first started seeing that people in Asia were actually being quarantined, we as a business, right then, started deciding things that we needed to do just in case. I call those if-then scenarios. What happens if it comes here? What happens if businesses have to shut down? What happens if there's quarantines? What happens if cash flow slows down? We actually started doing that in early February, so that when everybody else was dealing with it in March, we had already taken care of what we wanted to do. We were just managing the situation at that point. And we were actually, as we wrote on our board at that time, when everybody was shutting down, we wrote really big on our whiteboard. We wrote post-COVID. Because when everybody was being COVID, we were thinking about what do we do as we come out of this? Because I can't change what's going on right now, but what I can do is set myself up for success for tomorrow and the day after that. So think about where you focus. Are you focused on today? Are you focused on somebody else and where they are today? Or are you actually focused on where you need to be? So some of those things I mentioned before are a little bit scary. You have to imagine a world where some of those things come true, the real ones, not the sea monsters, where some of those things come true and where you need to be positioned to be successful. Because if you stay where you are, if you stand still, everybody's going to run past you and you're going to get lost. You're going to become extinct. So you need to be thinking about where you will be if those things happen. Matter of fact, I'll talk about if-then scenarios in just a moment. We'll talk a little bit about perpetual brainstorming. I know we all don't have a lot of time. And some of you are going to say, John, we just don't have time to brainstorm. We don't have time to create strategy. I got a kitchen to knock out. I got a countertop I have to do. I have 3 clients waiting. Well, it doesn't matter. If you're not spending the time brainstorming and thinking about the future, all of those things that are taking your time now will go away. And then you'll have plenty of time to think about how you catch up or what do you do next? So you really, really, really need to invest now. Now, I'm fortunate. Not everybody is as big as we are. We're a mid-sized company. I'm not the biggest guy. I'm not the smallest guy. A lot of you are on a smaller scale, and you don't have all these people to surround yourself with. But you should be surrounding yourself with thought leadership, web meetings like this, and other people within the business, that within the industry that you can coordinate with. I think that's really important. But I want you to tell you what we do as a company when it comes to brainstorming. Literally in the room that I sit, there are 3 giant whiteboards, and there's actually a glass board in the other room next to it. And we, every day, write down projects, we have fun, we give them fun names, we map out the steps that we need to accomplish those. Anybody who walks into our conference room, you can turn around and you can see all sorts of crazy scenarios there. We actually have fun with it. I will tell you that there are times, especially when new people join us, they'll walk in and they'll look around the room and they're so excited the first time that I do Project Jaws or Project Skynet or Project Pancake, and they sit down and we give them funny names for different reasons. And they're so excited the first time. And then like 2 or 3 weeks later, they'll come in and go, wow, we spent the day talking about this project and this idea and brainstorming if-thens, but we didn't really do anything with it. They're totally wrong. Because when we sit in that room and we brainstorm about ideas, we actually record everything we talk about. So we might talk about, I say record, we write it down, but we record everything that we talk about so that later, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months from now, when a real scenario pops up, we already have an entire portfolio of ideas on how to handle it. If it's a really good idea, sometimes we give it to team members and we start running with that idea, because I assume that whatever I'm doing as a company today will be unsuccessful next year. I have to change in order to remain relevant in what we do. So, give you some ideas of some of the things we like to do. We like to take if-then scenarios. We'll say, let's say Amazon opens up kitchen dealers, then what do we do? If this company does that, then what do we do? And oftentimes what I'll do is I'll take a scenario. For instance, COVID's a great scenario we had to deal with. In early February, we literally wrote down, if business is closed, this is what we'll do. If we're not allowed to have employees in the building, this is what we'll do. We go through all the process. If we can't get supply from Indiana, this is what we'll do. We go through that whole process all the way down. And that way, as those things actually happen to us in real time, we're like, oh, we already thought about that. If that happens, we have a solution. If this happens, we have a solution. Sometimes it feels like we spent a couple hours and people wonder where we're really going, but it's truly trying to prepare ourselves for all of the scenarios. And here's a little key. Here's a little key that I like. Oftentimes, especially if you are hit with something really, really scary, really bad, it is human nature for every one of us to go to the deepest, darkest recesses of our minds. We literally will have something bad, all of us, something bad happen to us, and we all run as fast as we can to the worst place in hell. I tell my team, that's natural. I want you to do it. You want to be upset, be upset. You want to cry, cry. You want to do all those things, do it. You want to panic, you want to be paranoid. I'm especially paranoid. You want to be paranoid? Awesome. Go do it. But here's the issue, or here's what you're allowed to do within the company. You're allowed to go to the worst place in hell in your head for 30 minutes. And then after 30 minutes, I want you to start coming back to me and going, okay, maybe it's not that bad. Maybe it stops here. Maybe it's not that bad. Maybe it stops there. Maybe it's not that bad. Maybe it stops there. And what we do is we go to the worst place possible, and then we focus on bringing it all the way back to the present. That way, we actually know what the scenarios are. We know what we need to do to keep it from being in the worst place possible. And I think that's really important, because a lot of people will tell you, don't do that. No, 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 it's human nature. Go to the worst place, but limit it. You got yourself 30 minutes to be like that, and then you got to come back. Too oftentimes, and you can watch the companies around you, it's all the people on social media, LinkedIn and everything, where they're all telling you how strong you are, get your chin up, all these things. It's because people set up camp. They actually go to the worst place and they set up camp. They build a house there and they don't come back. Don't do that. Limit yourself to 30 minutes, come back to us. And then we'll find awesome solutions there. They're the people that are the most adaptable. Now, I want to talk a little bit about favorite businesses. I mentioned a couple of businesses before. In the chat room, I think this is really important, everybody, because I want to use this as a learning experience, all right? Tell me your favorite disruptive business. I mentioned before SpaceX. I mentioned Robinhood. Tell me your favorite disruptive business, a business that's come along and totally changed an industry. Because what I want you all to do is I want you to list those. And when you list these, do a screen capture, write them down. I want you to see what everybody else is thinking. Because tonight, I want to give you a little bit of homework. Tonight, I want you to write those companies down and then write underneath of them what you like about them. Why do you use them? Why do you use Robinhood? Why do you use Uber Eats? Why do you use these different disruptive companies? Because you know what? They might be different than your business, but they're doing things that maybe you can replicate in some way to help you, your team, and your business adapt and thrive. And again, it's not just a one-time thing. It's an over and over and repeatable thing. Really, really important. Next. So write those down. I'm going to give you a second to write those down. I have to tell you, my favorite one is Netflix. If you think about Netflix, Netflix came along and put Blockbuster Video out of business. And they put Blockbuster Video out of business by sending videos to your house so that you didn't have to go to the store and pick them up. And then they weren't happy with that. They thought, okay, well, now we've put Blockbuster out of business. So what do we need to do? I need to compete with regular television stations. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stream movies. So we're going to go back and we're going to stream movies. And then we're going to allow people to be able to sit in their home and watch any movie that they want. They don't have to go to the mailbox anymore. So they made it easier. And then they looked and said, well, you know who's my competitor now? It's actually the people that make movies or the people that make TV shows. Do you think CBS, NBC, Fox News, who did I miss? ABC? Do you think that those companies 10 years ago thought that more people would sit in their house and watch Netflix shows made in multiple languages in their living room instead of watching the regular ABC sitcom? No. But they did that. And I'm sure they're working on the next thing. That is really cool because you're not happy. You didn't stand still. You're going on to the next one. So if you're successful, you can't stay there because what I'm doing today to win in my company, in my life, isn't going to help me win next year. I need to figure out where I need to be then. Awesome. Now, final thing here. Number 7, your people reflect who you are. Never forget that. If you're negative, your people are going to be negative. If you don't think things can change, your people are going to think things can't change. If you think that the newest, latest thing in the industry is going to put you out of business, not only will your people think that, but it will put you out of business. It really comes back to you, about you being positive, about you being transparent, about you literally loving change. Seriously, if you're the person who wakes up in the morning and you're already trying to figure out when happy hour is, or it's Tuesday and you're counting the days until the weekend, or you're counting the months to vacation or the years to your retirement, you're not going to adapt. You need to be somebody that is excited about what's going on today. Love the job that you're doing. That's something you can train yourself to do. But if you're not in a position, maybe you need to find something else that you truly love because you have to love that it's new each and every day. For me, trust and empowerment is huge. You have to trust the people you're working with, and more so, you have to empower them. I am very willing to let the people around me fail. Matter of fact, there are times where I know they're going to fail the moment they start. But that's okay. As long as it's not something that's really going to hurt us, I let them go all the way to the end. Or sometime they'll get halfway there and they'll come back to me and go, this isn't going to work, is it? And here's why. Because people, if they learn it themselves, they're going to do better for you in the end. So you got to trust, you have to empower it. Don't get me wrong. If somebody gets too far off course, I bring them back. Okay. I'm always going to bring them back. I don't want to do detriment to the team, but you got to have the people, give people the ability to succeed on their own. You also have to be somebody who seeks out ideas that are better than yours. And again, as I said earlier, man, make sure the people around you are smarter than you are. And I don't say that because you're not smart. I think I'm pretty smart. But I'm always looking for other people that can make me better. Because at the end of the day, being adaptable is being open and everybody working with each other to make each other better. Now, let's go ahead and I'm going to wrap this up. We are 55 minutes into it. I am perfectly on time. I'm going to look in the chat room and see if there's any questions that I want to answer specifically. The final point in this is to take action now. I have to tell you that myself and my team, we all love to come up with really cool ideas. But that's not what really differentiates the people that work with me from other people. What differentiates the people that work with me is we come up with ideas today. When I walk in tomorrow morning, they're actually taking action on them. And I love that. I don't have to say that it has to happen. I'll walk in and they are literally crossing things off the board because they're trying to make it happen. That's the difference. We can all sit around and dream, but acting on them is what actually makes them reality. Just want to thank everybody for attending. You're welcome to contact me. I'll actually give you my information. My direct email address, this is my personal email address, is johnkmorgan@comcast.net. JOHN, the letter K, MORGAN @comcast.net. You're welcome to email me, ask me questions anytime, and I'm always happy to give advice out. Like I said, we're open. I give everything away for free because I always feel like if I help somebody else, they're going to help me in the end. So thank you all for joining us today, and I'm going to wrap the session up. What a wonderful community to be a part of. So thank you, everybody.